What's up, guys? It's me, Justin. I'd like to welcome you back. I want to start getting into some of the more practical aspects of mysticism. And I think a great starting point for that is mindfulness. I'm not necessarily going to get into mindfulness meditation, as I've already done a video on it. And there's a lot of information out there. Most of us know to focus on the breath, yada, yada, yada. But how does that apply to our daily lives? What is mindfulness in that context? To define it simply, mindfulness is a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment, while calmly acknowledging one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations. You want to sum that up really quickly, go with Ram Dass, be here now. So if you guys are interested in how this can be applied and what kind of lessons can be attained from it, then rock with me a minute as we take the journey within. What up, though? It's Justin. Welcome back to the Mystical Mind State. So, mindfulness is probably one of the most practical things that an up and coming mystic can start with. It's a very simple process of just focusing on one's breath, like literally feel the sensation come in and out, in and out. Just do that for several minutes every morning and just kind of be there. This doesn't mean stop thinking. A lot of people that will try and fight their minds and calm it, that's not what you do. You catalog the thoughts as they come through. You become aware of your inner dialogue. Eventually, you get to the point that Dub Tanishi would always talk about, where you realize that all your thoughts and emotions are just clouds in a boundless sky. Right? This is really easy to do first thing in the mornings when our minds are most quiet, but what about when we get out in the real world? When you're out in public, pay attention to your body. Does your posture change around certain people? Like when you see a woman, do you like puff your chest out and kind of flex a little bit to show off your traps? All that hunter-gatherer nonsense that's ingrained into our being. Do you do the same when you see people that are a little bit roguish or, gang gang? Probably. It's natural. Most men want to toughen up their faces and look a little harder so they don't look like prey, Y'all are food anyway, but that's another story. Becoming aware of these little cues that are in your body. Do you carry the tension in your shoulders? Like my convicts know what I'm talking about. We all carry that tension in our shoulders from doing time. It's kind of a PTSD thing. But there's all these sensations that are happening within our bodies. Like when our gut drops behind like hearing something horrendous, or what does heartbreak feel like? Can you see it on your face? Do you feel the lines in your face as you're tensing up? What emotional states are stirred by your outside environment? What thoughts arise from those emotional states? If you're aware of what's going on internally and you're paying attention to what outside of you is actually causing those little cues to kick off, then you're actually in a position to do something about it. But you can't do that if you're just running on autopilot and not paying attention to your inner dialogue in relation to the outer world. So mindfulness is our exit strategy. It's the way that we start to become aware of ourselves. We start to see where our flaws are. We start to see where our tension is. We start to see where we get angry, where we fly off the handle. And once we have our minds wrapped around that, then we can start digging a little deeper. Thoughts arise from emotional states. In time, you can start uprooting them. Like if you are at work and somebody leaves you to do a task and they know you can do it, but you're used to doing it in a team setting, it's very easy for that feeling of abandonment to kick off. And those of us that were raised in broken homes that didn't necessarily know our fathers and mothers or whatever the case may be, we tend to get angry at that. But we're not actually angry. What's happening is it's reminding us of the abandonment that we went through when we were small children, right? Plain as day. Anger is almost always a surface emotion. It's masking our fear. Somebody's going to run, somebody's going to get it, whatever it may be. All of that comes from being aware of what's going on in the mind. But where to start, right? So that's great. Like, I'll just have to be aware. Most of us have monkey minds. We're not really focused. We're on autopilot. We're a million miles away. Run through some more scenarios. When you're driving, are you focusing on driving? Probably not. You're probably listening to the radio, nodding your head, trying to stay calm because of drivers, right? Nobody likes other drivers on the road. Only us can drive, no one else can, right? Well, that's a great thing to look at because the car gives you plenty of meditative techniques. I'll get into that another time. But we're hardly ever focused in the moment. So then we pull up on our houses and we see a slat that's knocked down in the middle of the. So now we got to get the hammer out and put the fence back together because the dumb dog or whatever the case may be. While you're doing that, are you feeling the weight of the wood? Are you wah wah? No, you're probably a million miles off thinking about dinner or some conversation you're about to have with a family member. So you get in there and you guys are preparing dinner, right? Are you feeling the weight of the pan? Are you smelling the aromas of the butter as it cooks down? Are you frying chicken and like smelling the actual seasonings cook into the meat? And no, probably not. You're probably thinking about some TV program you're going to watch or something that happened at work that you're still upset about. Whatever the case may be, we have a tendency to not be there in the moment. So what do? Ask yourself if you're a sight person, a smell person, a hear person. How do you learn? What's your learning language? Do you learn by doing? Do you learn by hearing? Do you learn by writing it down? Do you learn by seeing it? Do you have an affection towards smells? Whatever the case may be. So the next thing to do at that point is to take things that are in your learning style and use them as cues. If I hear a horn honk in my car, I'm going to come back to my breath and I'm going to check. I'm going to see how I feel and what I'm thinking, right? Or if I'm a smell person and I work in a kitchen, every time I smell a certain kind of meat sizzling, I'm going to stop, come to my breath, and check how I feel and what's going on in my internal dialogue. What's happening in my shoulders? It's difficult. Like at first you're not going to feel the tension in your shoulders when somebody starts yelling and you want to go over there and check them, right? But if you keep up with it, eventually you'll realize that your body's responding before your mind even gets a chance to get rational and stop you. Because most of us are running through these pattern responses. So the goal is to set up little cues to remind yourself to come back to the breath, to come back to the present moment. It's simple, right? It doesn't mean it's easy, but once you start setting these up and you start paying attention to the dialogue that's happening within, here and here, tensions, whatever they may be in the body, where do you carry your stress, so forth and so on. When you start looking into these and investigating, then you can start asking yourself why that is. Then you're digging into your past, you're looking for these traumas, these things that set you off. And when you become aware that this is a deep-seated issue, this is something I've done for a decade, this is something I've done for 20 years, this is because of something that happened 3 months ago. Now you have a dialogue of where you need to really start focusing on improving. We'll get into how to apply that later, but just get in the habit of going through a self-analysis and being aware in the present moment until it becomes a practical, normal, everyday thing. Last thing, at the end of the night, just start doing a checklist to see how well you did. Was I aware? Was I in the present moment? Was I offering all I could to the stream of life, or was I running around being a douchebag? Ask yourself very real and honest questions. Where can I improve? Start doing this daily. And your awareness will naturally start to pick up and you'll develop an intuition. And then you'll start intuitively knowing what to do, and you'll stop reacting to situations and start responding in a healthy and positive way that helps you and everyone around you. That's all I got, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.